And we're here with another episode of Conversations and Connections. We're the official podcast of the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. I'm Stuart Burson, the prevention coordinator for the agency. And with me again, who's somewhat of a semi-regular on the podcast, it seems, Maria Villarreal. She's back with us. And Maria, as you know, is our sexual assault and human trafficking specialist. And I wanted Maria to come on the show. First of all, thank you again, Maria.
Thank you.
You are so gracious. Anytime I want to come into your office and say, "Hey, let's do a podcast on this," you're always
I'm like, sure, okay,
more than welcome to do this. Well, and one of the reasons I wanted to do this, again, January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and we were in a meeting a few weeks ago, and Maria wasn't even involved. It wasn't even really a meeting that had to do with Maria, but we were talking about some of these awareness events we had coming up, and we started talking about the terminology that we've been putting on our Facebook page, these key words to kind of bring awareness to human trafficking. And I think it would be really interesting to have Maria come on to the podcast and talk about some of these slang words and the terminology that's used in the the realm, I guess, of human trafficking, and I guess specifically sex trafficking is what we're really talking about. But lack for a better word, Maria, I kind of find this fascinating and interesting. I don't know if that's a bad thing to say, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, I really do. I find this really interesting, some of these words. I thought, well, if we talk about some of these terms and some of this slang, and for anybody that's listening, if they hear these words spoken by someone close to them or an acquaintance, whatever, it may bring to light something they need to be concerned about, I guess, right?
Yeah, we do need to talk about, the language and everything, because human trafficking really is its own culture. Like, it does have, its own rules and hierarchy and everything. So the terms do need to be talked about. So with that being said, it could be triggering. So we're big on self-care and everything. If you or somebody that you know is a survivor of human trafficking, you can always give us a call. We'd be more than happy to talk to you and try to help you figure things out.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Again, some of these words we use and the meaning behind these words are very mature. We're going to try not to be graphic. I really don't want to tick the listener discretion box, but I just want to let everyone know that, again, like Maria said, some of this stuff may be triggering, and if you have young folks that are listening to the podcast with you, you might want to listen to this at a later time. But so when I asked Maria, I said, "Hey, give me a list of some words that we can talk about." Maria gave me a sheet that's literally front and back. I wasn't expecting so many terms, which is good.
You were just like, "Oh my." Ooh. So that lets me feel like I exceeded your expectations.
Well, I know. Of course, we were to give you a little insight of Maria and I's relationship. She said, "Did I exceed your expectations?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know how to answer that." If I said yes, that makes it sound like I didn't expect much from you.
I don't get offended easily.
But this is a very impressive list. So one of the first words I want to talk about, which to me is probably one of the main words on here, is the term "the life." Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. What does that mean when you hear somebody referring in this realm, again, human trafficking, well, when they talk about the life, what are they talking about?
Whenever somebody says that they were in the life or I'm in the life, they really are referring to that they've been involved or are involved in the prostitution world. And I want to say prostitution lightly because, They could be sex workers, doing this on their own free will, but they could also be victims of sex trafficking. So it's just a term that women and girls as well use whenever they're referring to the act of prostitution.
Okay. All right. Would you hear this word being discussed? Like somebody talking about being in the life? Would it ever be on would they ever wear this word? Would it ever be part of like a tattoo or anything?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly. I really haven't seen that. What really I tend to see, it's called branding too. That's another term. Branding's whenever somebody gets a tattoo or maybe even a burn or something. It's just anything that can indicate that they're the property of a specific trafficker. But I really don't see a whole lot like the life. I see the word daddy, which is a term that traffickers make their victims call them. It's a requirement. Or even the boyfriend's, the trafficker's name. It could even be like a throne. It could be a crown. It could even be like gang affiliated. It can just be anything that will remind the victim that she is the property of this trafficker, and they will let other people know, other traffickers, that she is his property.
So the word daddy would be on her. Mm-hmm. Would be a tattoo on her. Yes. Even though the pimp is quote unquote the daddy. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of the other words that you sent to me is stable.
Yes.
So what are we talking about when we talk about a stable?
It's a group of victims under the control of one single trafficker. Usually it takes either about 2 or more victims, a group of victims, in order to be considered a stable. And so one of the things that may shock people to hear is that in a stable, there's usually a bottom girl. And the bottom is the girl that is in charge of all the other girls. She is the one that keeps them all in line, in check. She will make sure that, they follow the trafficker's orders and everything. She can enjoy certain privileges, such as like driving the trafficker's car, posting ads, even sleeping more with the trafficker than the other girls. And another thing that may shock other people too is that in order for the girls to... The trafficker does this thing that he will create jealousy amongst the girls in the stable. So that way the girls are less likely to like become friends and then eventually gang up on him and then leave him. So there's usually jealousy and competition in the stable.
Okay. So if someone's referred to as the bottom, which seems like it's contradictory. You think the bottom would be the lowest person on the totem pole, but this is actually someone who is kind of higher rank amongst the people that this pimp controls, and who I don't know if you want to say the word works for him. I mean, they do work for him, but they're not getting any profit out of it, I don't guess.
And just the privileges of like, sleeping with him more and posting those ads and everything, reporting to him. Right. Also, like if something were to happen where like their operation were, to get busted, like the trafficker will expect the bottom to take the fall, to like be like, oh, those are my drugs, or yeah, I'm responsible for that.
That's fine.
Sorry. That was my ring.
Maria just hit her ring on the microphone, and
sorry.
Man, I heard that in my headphones. Oops. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, yeah, she will take the fall for him.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Exit fee.
Yeah. That is usually a very large fee that a victim has to pay the pimp if she is trying to leave. And so obviously the trafficker is going to set it up to a very high amount to try to discourage her from leaving, because that's his product and everything. So he's going to want, like, he's just going to be setting up really high. That way, maybe he can just collect the money that he would think he would make from her. So okay. It's to discourage a victim from leaving.
Wow. Okay. Is there in that world? Let me ask you this: if she has to pay an exit fee to leave him, is she free then to go
No.
to another pimp?
I mean, technically, they're never really free, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because even though they leave that trafficker, like, now they have to face the facts that they're out in the world and everything, and they don't have their trafficker, their pimp, their boyfriend to protect them anymore, to provide them with money, to provide them with shelter and everything. Not just that, but also, like, I hear a lot of survivors talking about how, my trafficker is following me, my pimp is following me and everything. And so they're not really ever free.
Okay. All right. Well, talking about the pimps, on here you have a term called gorilla pimp. What does that mean?
It's a style of pimping. A gorilla pimp is a pimp that usually uses violence and tortures and beatings to keep his victims in control. Now, whenever we say gorilla, like, we're not really trying to say gorilla. What we're trying to say is that he is literally a gorilla, like the.
Well, it's like a guerrilla warfare. It's like when you talk about like guerrillas in a war, it's the style of, I guess, being overly aggressive and being exerting their power and things like that.
Yeah, we're talking about the violence that is used, not so much like the animal in the jungle.
Right. Okay. And next to gorilla pimp, we have the Romeo or the finesse pimp. What's the difference there?
Well, I mean, they're used about the same. It depends, I guess, on the pimp, what his preference may be. But it's the pimp that uses love, the promises of love and safety and just support to keep his victims in control. And that is where we see a lot of the manipulation, the brainwashing going on with survivors.
Okay.
But the thing about it is that, there's always a threat of violence there. Like, he will resort to violence if needed, but he would prefer to, promise them that he's going to love them and everything if they do this. Like, you can sleep with me tonight if you make $200 more than last night or something like that.
Okay. All right. And I guess, is it a privilege for some of these ladies to get to sleep with the pimp? I mean, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a privilege, and like I said earlier, it's a tactic that pimps will use to just keep control of their victims and also to prevent mutiny within the stable.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got here. There's so many, and before we even started, I kind of checked off some of them that I wanted to make sure we definitely got to. Let's look at a track. What is a track? When we talking about a track, and you also said this can also be called a stride or a blade.
Yeah, it's an area that's known for prostitution activity. And I want to say, again, prostitution lightly, because like I said earlier, some of these women, they could be doing it on their own free will, but you never know. And it's very, very likely that you're going to run into some that are not doing this on their own free will.
Yeah.
They're forced into it. So like out in Houston, an area that's known for prostitution activity is Bessenet Street. That's a track that a lot of people know about. In Dallas, it would be Harry Hines Boulevard. That is a track out there in the Dallas area. So it's just an area that's known for prostitution and even sex trafficking.
Okay. Okay, and geez, on this next one, I mean, it kind of goes with track, and you hate to talk about stuff like this, but it is what it is. We also have something that's called a kiddie stroll.
Yeah, it's like an area where minors are seen to sell themselves and everything. And I really don't like saying that, because there is no such thing as a child prostitute. Like, minors are automatically victims of sex trafficking no matter what. So it doesn't matter if they're just like, oh yeah, like I wanted to do this for my boyfriend, like I'm doing this out of my own free will. It doesn't matter. And also the thing that I found out is that maybe there isn't a trafficker. Maybe they are doing this like on their own accord. They're still being exploited. The buyer is the one that's exploiting them.
Yeah.
He is buying the minor, and I'm saying he
Right.
because normally it is a male, and the victim tends to be a female.
Yeah.
So minors are automatically protected whenever they're in the commercial sex industry.
Yeah. And I guess it is something we should point out, and I know I'll catch myself doing this whenever we're talking about sex trafficking. Most of the time, when we're talking about the victim, I'm probably going to say she or her, although we do know that men and boys can be victims just as well, but it is what it is, and probably the majority of people in sex trafficking are going to be female, and the majority of pimps are probably going to be men, I'm assuming. So I don't want people to think that it's only females who are victims of trafficking and only men who are pimps, but it is the majority. So I'm going to try to be as diplomatic as I can, but I may say she or he, but I don't want anyone to assume that there's a solid line drawn between.
Yeah, because boys, they can be sexually trafficked too. They can be sexually exploited too, and males, grown men, can be too.
Yeah.
I know that there is an agency out there in Denton that works specifically with male survivors of sex trafficking. Like, that is what they do. So yes, males and boys can be victims of sex trafficking too.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. A renegade.
A renegade, that is a woman who is acting on her own accord, without a trafficker. Usually it can happen after she's left the life. But still, like I said earlier, these traffickers, they never really leave them to live their life and everything. So they'll be, following them, or they'll probably be asking other people to follow them, and they're just going to wait until, they're vulnerable or something happens, and then they can just manipulate their way back into this person's life.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Now, I have heard of this term before, lot lizard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a derogatory term used to call women who are out there to truck stops to sell their bodies. And so now, actually, they're trying to use this term a lot less, especially truckers against trafficking. Like, they actually don't call them lot lizards anymore. They see them as, what they are. They're victims. They need help. So truckers against trafficking, they actually go through training to identify trafficking and to properly report it and to help.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
I know.
That's cool. That's the first time I've heard you talk about that, but that's really neat.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love what they're doing, and they recognize that it was a problem, and so they're doing something to stop it. Not just stop it, but also like help these victims.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what else we got. We have, jeez. Okay. Now we talked about the life, but you also have written down the game.
Yeah.
So what is the game?
The game is referring to the pimping of girls and women. It's meant to make it seem like getting this money is fun and easy, but it really isn't. And there is actually a book I cannot remember I can't remember right now, but it was written by a pimp, and basically in that book he talks about how he kept the victims in line, how he made money and everything, and it's that term is used to describe that, oh well, pimping is easy and you can make money like this and everything, but that's the terms that pimps use.
Yeah, okay.
And the other thing that I want to say too is that I call pimps traffickers the majority of the time. I just say pimps here and there because, unfortunately, like, our culture, they have glamorized the term pimp and they've normalized it. Like, I still hear people talk about, like, oh, my little boy, he looks so good. He's going to be such a pimp later on and everything. He looks pimping. And I'm just like,
Pimp my ride.
Pimp my ride. And it's like, you're teaching your children that this kind of lifestyle is okay when it's not. Like, a pimp, a trafficker really is a rapist, really is a pedophile.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Yeah, right.
So I will go switching in between those terms, but I will use trafficker the most because that's what they are.
Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is two two terms, and they looks like they may be kind of connected. I want to talk first about what you have written down here, something called choosing up.
Yeah, it's the process of choosing another pimp by simply looking at the pimp. Victims are instructed to not be recklessly eyeballing. If the original pimp wants his victim back, he must pay a fee to a new pimp, and then once that transaction has occurred, the pimp will force the victim to pay back what he spent. So these victims are instructed to not look around, to not look up and everything, especially whenever they go to clubs or just places where they could be sold, because they could be doing some reckless eyeballing, and that's actually against the game, the rules of the game. And so if that does happen, like I said earlier, like the original pimp has to pay a fee and everything, and then usually the victims catch a beating. Like, I did have a survivor tell me how she had to recognize her trafficker shoes before going to the club, because if she was caught looking up, then she would catch a beating. And she knew that it would be worse if she made eye contact with the wrong male.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if it was on a previous podcast that you were here doing, or if it was in a meeting, or we was just talking, but this brings to mind something you told. I think it was you that said that some traffickers or some victims had to kind of memorize what their pimp's shoes looked like. Because they weren't allowed to look up. They could only look down, and they wanted to make sure that if their pimp was there, they could tell that he was approaching them just by the look of his shoes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's
Wow.
Yeah, it's just sad, and I'm happy that out here in East Texas we don't have like strip clubs or any kind of businesses that would promote sex like that at all, because then I'm sure that we would see a spike in sex trafficking, and we would see.
And I wasn't born yesterday. You go to Houston or Dallas, and especially, and I know Houston the best because that's where I'm from. But like on the west side of Houston, in the Galleria area, Westheimer and Richmond, and all those areas where there's a lot of fancy high dollar strip clubs, or quote unquote gentlemen's clubs there, right?
Gag.
Are they hotbeds for this type of activity?
Oh yeah. Like I can't remember where I heard this or who told me this, but apparently a 16-year-old was found in a strip club. And so, like, apparently nobody bothered to, like, find out her real age or anything. Like, they just allowed her to go up there, and, she was obviously making money and everything, but all that money went back to her trafficker. And so it's just strip clubs and areas like that. I mean, you're just gonna find sex trafficking.
I guess it's again, lack for a better word, interesting. These clubs present themselves as being very fashionable, high, kind of ritzy, fancy, I guess may be a word, very sophisticated. And you don't realize stuff like that could be happening in those places.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't just happen in places where it looks sketchy or it looks like illegal activity could be happening.
Yeah, and I guess that's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, and it's like, traffickers, a smart one, probably wouldn't go to a sketchy place like that. They probably go to a business that looks fancy, that looks good and everything, and just a place where it will make people less suspicious of something happening for real.
Sure. Okay. Well, and then the other term I was going to talk about, but we kind of talked about the reckless eyeballing. Don't look around, right? Yeah. Kind of keep your eyes to the ground. Let's see. Let's talk about. Let's see. Wifeys, wife-in-law, sister, wife. What is that?
It's a term that women call each other when they are under the control of a trafficker. And
the same stable, I guess.
The same stable, yeah. Okay. And that's like I said earlier, it would shock some people that, they could be like, befriending and everything, but then underneath all that, there's competition, there's jealousy going on, and everything. So sometimes they could make friends with another girl in the stable.
Okay.
And actually, I don't know if you've heard of her. We actually had Rebecca Charleston talk to the Safer East Texas conference.
Okay. She was one of the keynote speakers, right?
Yeah, and she had talked about how, she met a woman, a woman, and she was, in the life too and everything. And she had talked about how they were supporting each other and everything, and now they're thriving. They're what, people would consider overcomers in the human trafficking world. So it's, wifey, wife-in-law, sister, wife. It's a term that women may call each other.
Okay. Squaring up.
That is an attempt to leave or escape the life. And that is dangerous because if they try to leave, then either the pimp will, like I said, make them pay an exit fee, or if not, then, the pimp is just going to try to highly discourage them, and they'll catch a beating, or they'll get tortured, they'll get sexually assaulted again and again and again.
Okay. So if someone wanted to leave without the permission of the pimp, without paying the exit fee, that's squaring up, is what we're talking about. Okay. Seasoning.
So, sorry. See, I know that seasoning is like
See, you gave me so many words. You don't even, you got lost.
I can't even keep up. No, seasoning is designed to break down a victim's will. So that way, the trafficker can make sure that they are compliant and everything. And this can involve isolation and gang rape and sodomy, sleepless nights, starvation, and also threats. So it's just really designed to break down a victim's will to escape and just ensure compliance. And whenever we're talking about torture, like, I do mean some of the worst torture that you can think of. So it's not just a punch to the face.
So I guess seasoning, I guess you could also liken it to just trying to get them to accept the life and not fight it and accept it for what it is.
Yes.
Get used to it, I guess, right? Okay. Well, Maria, again, there's so many words here. Well, and then some of them, and I mean, we can't talk. I mean, some of them, like a John. Well,
Yeah.
I've watched enough TV. I think I know what a John is, but a John is a customer, I guess, of the a brothel. Now, but this is interesting though. When you have the word brothel here, of course, when you think of brothel, you think of a business. Hey, this is a brothel, but in the terms of trafficking, it might be a little different, right?
Yeah, it can be homes, it can be apartments, it can be trailers. It's just anywhere where it's a place where John can go to and buy sex.
Okay.
So I know that whenever we hear the term brothel, we tend to think about that brothel out there in Nevada.
The legal brothels in
Yes.
Nevada, or the
Back
in the day, I remember the best little whorehouse in Texas.
The chicken farm?
The Chicken Ranch.
Chicken Ranch,
The
there
chicken,
you go,
the Chicken Ranch, that's, I guess when I hear the word brothel, that's kind of what I think about, or terms or places like that. But it could be like a motel, I guess, or an apartment complex that's known for high prostitution areas or sex trafficking areas, I guess, right?
It can even be a house.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is kind of interesting. Circuit.
Let's see. It's a series of cities where victims are moved. I had to think about that. I had to look it up. So like a circuit in Texas, it could be considered like from Dallas to Houston, or from Houston to Austin, things like that. I mean, that could be considered a circuit, but in Texas, it's called a red triangle, the Texas Triangle. That's where a lot of the reports of sex trafficking are coming from from Texas. So
So are victims do they actually move them around?
yeah,
Okay, so it's not like Houston, they're going to stay in Houston. They may be
no.
in Houston for, what, a few days, a few weeks?
Yeah,
Or,
because traffickers are scared of getting caught.
yeah,
So they have to be constantly moving, especially if they're minors, and especially like if they stay there too long and people start catching on, like, okay, we have a lot of cars coming by, we have a lot of people coming by and everything at this particular house. So they will be moving their victims a lot
okay.
in order to avoid suspicion.
All right. Before we wrap up, is there a term or something that we have not talked about that you want to make sure that you feel is important that we do mention?
I know we talked about it earlier, but I just, the term pimp, I really do have a problem with it.
Right.
Because
Because it's been glamorized, right?
yeah, and it's like, don't teach your boys or even your girls that being a pimp is cool, or being a pimp is like you looking good and everything. It's just, a pimp is a trafficker, and traffickers are
Yeah.
rapists, the pedophiles. I know I already said it, but I just wanted to say it
Hey,
again.
y'all, you probably can't say it enough.
Nope.
Right. Okay. All right. Maria Villarreal, again, our sexual assault and human trafficking specialist here at the Family Crisis Center. Thank you, ma'am. And I will say this, and I'm not trying to butter you up or anything, but you can tell that Maria does have such a passion for this cause, for helping these people. And you got so excited when we got our T-shirts in for Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and we do have a section now on our website at FamilyCrisisCenterEastTexas.com that's dedicated to your cause of preventing human trafficking. And Maria you do have a very strong passion for this, and that is
Thank
very
you.
admirable. So again, and Maria's here to help you if you feel like you need help, whether if you have more questions about human trafficking, or if you feel like you may be a victim of human trafficking, or whatever. I do encourage you to give us our toll-free 800 number a call. We do have a 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week hotline. That number is 1-800-828-7233. Again, that's 1-800-828-7233. Let me ask you this before we go. If someone does feel like there's human trafficking going on, or that they are a victim of human trafficking and they're trying to get out, what is the best course of action that they can do?
The best course of action? I would definitely say first develop a safety plan.
Okay.
Either they can do it themselves, or they can call an agency like ours and we can help them. But really and truly, they are the experts in their own situation, the survivors are. So they may know when is the best time to leave, or when is the best time to reach out for help through a text or through a phone call. So definitely think about safety first.
Okay.
And, if somebody wants to make a report, I highly, highly encourage them to call the National Human Trafficking Hotline Center. So that way they can make a proper report, because we don't investigate. We can talk to people, we can talk to survivors and everything, help them figure things out, develop a safety plan, let them know what services we have to offer. But if they want to investigate, then either call the local law enforcement or call the National Human Trafficking Hotline Center.
So if you are interested in the national number, that number is 1-888-373-7888. Again, that's 1-888-373-7888. And again, we do have our 24-hour a day, 7-day-a-week hotline. That number is 1-800-828-7233. Maria, thank you.
Thank you for having me again.
And be sure to subscribe to Conversations and Connections. We'd love to have you as a subscriber. You can do that via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or the podcast service of your choice. And remember, be the voice, if not for you, for someone else.